Samhain is officially over. I hope that everybody had an amazing celebration, an amazing Halloween, and as much as I would love for it to be Halloween and spooky season forever, alas, the wheel of the year does keep turning, and so now we're into November, but one good thing about the start of a month is we talk about all of the new Witchcraft and Pagan book releases, and there are a lot in November. So this is going to be quite a long video. Grab a drink, grab a snack, grab a cuddly blanket or stuffed animal, and we're going to dive into some new witchy books, but feel free to take some breaks because this is going to be quite a marathon and you're probably going to need it. I'm definitely going to need it, but I am just going to blast through this and hope for the best. Now, as always, there are some links for more information down in the description box. These are affiliate links that can help support the channel. But first and foremost, I would always suggest people use small and independent bookshops. These are the people that really, really need your help, and so I would always prioritize supporting those first where possible. And with that being said, now let's dive into it. You might also notice I'm using a new camera. I'm not entirely sure where to look. I think I keep accidentally staring down the barrel of the lens and staring into your soul. If I do, I'm really sorry. I'm trying to remember that I need to look like slightly above the lens, but I keep forgetting. I've been using my phone for so long, so we're gonna give it a try. I'm sorry if you think I'm staring into your soul. I am not doing it intentionally if I am. Up first, on the 3rd of November in the US and December in the UK, we have The Spiritual Magic of Dolls. If you sense the magic within your dolls but never fully understood it, Najah becomes your trusted guide, unveiling how dolls can become powerful partners in your spiritual and magical practices. Dolls have been both beloved companions and instruments of magic for millennia. In The Spiritual Magic of Dolls, author Najah Lightfoot brings these two uses, companionship and magic, to enable readers to develop profound magical and spiritual relationships with their own dolls. Many have beloved dolls displayed on shelves or sitting in boxes. Perhaps you still have favourite childhood dolls, or have been gifted a doll or inherited one from a relative or friend. What if you could do more with them? Najah shows you how. The Spiritual Magic of Dolls teaches you how to take that attachment to the next level, to be closer to them in magical, loving ways. So this is quite interesting because it's different than doll magic as we would commonly see within witchcraft. Because doll magic is usually a representation of another person, perhaps yourself, and they are used as a form of sympathetic magic. Whereas this book very much seems to be taking dolls you already have, deepening your connection, and perhaps also using them in a spiritual sense. Now, I do have a book recommendation if you are interested in doll magic as a sympathetic magic approach. I will put it on screen right about here because I've forgotten what it's called. It's by Moira Hodgkinson, I think. I know what the cover looks like. It is green. I cannot remember who wrote it. I will put it here. This one I really enjoyed for the more witchcraft approach to using dolls in a practical sense. This is much more of a deeper spiritual sense, which I think is really, really interesting. On the 3rd of November in the US and December in the UK, we also have Living Folk Magic, Crafting Your Own Magical Life. Living Folk Magic emphasises that folk magic is something alive, vital, and modern. Discover practical and helpful information, regardless of your ethnic or spiritual background, to create a fulfilling and successful folk magic practice. Folk magic exists in every culture and has been practiced since the dawn of time. It is more than casting a spell or creating a ritual. It's a way of life, a way of living, a way of perceiving the world and all within it. Living Folk Magic explains how to build an entire folk magic practice, from cleansing and protecting to blessing and cursing, and provides instructions on how to build altars, whether openly or secretly, practice divination, commune with spirits, and more. Supported by the 4 pillars of magic, these elements serve to provide stability, structure, and protection. These include cleansing, blessing, protecting, and defending. In Living Folk Magic, author Mary Grace Ferron seeks to share her magical perspective and processes in a hope of inspiring both beginners and experienced practitioners alike. So this one looks really interesting, and I'm tempted to pick it up because I have many questions. Now, I want to emphasize I have not read any of the books in this video. I'm simply going off the pre-launch information, but typically, folk magic comes from specific people, places, regions, landscapes, spiritualities, mythologies. It is very localized to a region. So Italian folk magic is going to be very different to English folk magic. But even when we zoom in on England, Cornwall, Devon, Somerset, they're right next to one another in the southwest of England, but they will all have variations in folk magic based on the landscape and the regional mythology that they have in particular. If you then go further to the east, and we're talking about Essex, they have different folk magic again. And so I really want to know where the basis of this is, because this book very much talks about building a folk magic practice. Now, within this, I often find that folk magic is adapted. It is developed, but it isn't necessarily created. It's something that we are adapting from specific regions, specific time periods, specific references and resources that we have access to. So I really want to see where this comes from, because folk magic is magic of people, and I want to know more about the people and the places where it comes from. Now, this is written by the author of Italian folk magic, so I am therefore making the assumption it is probably going to be based off Italian folk magic, but I think that's really important to know. And while I understand that there is a massive resurgence in the popularity of folk magic at the moment, especially accompanied by the pushback of the mass-marketed Wiccan books that we've seen in the 90s through the 2000s and the 2010s, I want to know more about where this is from, because folk magic is of people, of places. I need to know more. And so I'm really tempted to check this one out for myself and see what it's about. I also am talking a lot with my hands today. I don't have any nails, and so I feel like I can move my hands so much more. Apologies. I talk with my hands. It's something that I do. Oh, if you want a good book on folk magic, by the way, I will put this one here. This is Folk Magic by Roger J. Horne. I have this book in every edition that they have released because I love it so much. So check that out if you want some more information on folk magic. And I will also link to this book, which was also written by the author of this folk magic book, which is all about Italian folk magic. It's not one that I've read personally because I am not, you guessed it, I'm not Italian. I am English. And so for me, I have not read it, but I will link it if you are interested in reading some more information. Okay, up next, on the 3rd of November in the US and December in the UK, we have The Apothecary of Belonging, Seasonal Rituals and Practical Herbalism. This is a practical guide and a book of plant magic. The Apothecary of Belonging takes us on a magical journey through each of the 4 seasons, with plant allies as our guide and companions. Author Alexis J. Cunningfolk explores how to know ourselves as beings who deeply belong to the land and one another, whilst teaching us about the energetic foundations of traditional Western herbalism that flow through the seasons within and around us. Featuring 12 main seasonal allies and over 70 additional plants and herbal profiles, you will find methods for combining seasonal herbalism for physical vitality with magical practices to support personal healing and community empowerment. These include an indications-based guide to plant allies for common ailments, herbal remedy suggestions, simple tea recipes to support your energy, rituals for solo or community practice including divination techniques, lunar blessings to support your remedy making throughout the year, and opportunities for sacred inquiry through journaling. Speaking to the common yearning for kinship and connection, The Apothecary of Belonging is a love letter, reminding us that we can always find our way back home to each other. On the 4th of November in the US and January in the UK, this is actually something we're going to be seeing a lot. There are very few releases this month that are coming out in the UK first. Most of them are American releases that are coming out here later. We have Bonadea's Book of Everyday Enchantments. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Simple but powerful magic at your fingertips. Bonadea's Book of Everyday Enchantments is a practitioner's guide to using words, gestures, everyday objects, and most importantly, alliances to effect change magically in your life. Revisit old pastimes, such as connect the dots and crossword puzzles to center your energy. Manifest opportunities, and protect what is most precious to you. Determining when to create a spell or intone a chant to shift the energies is simpler than you might think. The author gives examples of her own spells and charms, assembled through years of practice, to build a foundation for the reader. Bonadea's Book of Everyday Enchantments covers topics from protection to ancestor work, showing the interconnected nature of witchcraft and manifestation. Listen for what resonates and allow the author's work to inspire you and give you confidence to create your own magical world. Now, also on the 4th of November in the UK, but this one is actually already released in the UK and I totally missed it. This is by Morgan Dharma. This is Tale of the... I literally just looked up the pronunciation of this and I have already forgotten how to pronounce it. Let's check together.
Tuatha
de Danann. My brain doesn't like languages, have you noticed? This is Tales of the Tuatha de Danann, Volume 1. New Translations of Irish Myths by Morgan Dharma. Now, many of you will have already read books by Morgan Dharma, especially if you were interested in the fairy faith and fairy magic. They have done one through pagan portals that is very good. So I'm tempted to get this one into my collection. No, never mind. I'm not tempted. I am going to get this into my collection. It's just a case of when. Because I said I wasn't going to get any more books, and then I ended up getting a few, and so now I feel like I have to go back on my book buying ban, but I'm still so tempted. But this one looks really good if you, like me, are also fascinated by fairy folklore, myths, legends, and magical practice and witchcraft. A collection of modern translations of older Irish material focusing on the Tuatha de Danann and Eoshi. I am so sorry about my butchered pronunciation. This book gathers these stories together into a single place and gives readers a more literal translation to work from, focusing on shorter tales and excerpts from larger texts and offering a range of material that gives insight into who the Irish gods are and how they have been perceived. Stories include how Dagda got his magical staff, the treasures of the Tuatha de Danann, I can't pronounce that, Angus's dream. I'm so sorry. I'll put it on the screen. And others. This text is presented in the source language of Old and Middle Irish with new English translations by the author. Many existing translations are around 100 years old and often either exclude material or skew the translation to fit the mores of a more Victorian audience, while this one stays as true as possible to the source material. Now, this one sounds really good to me, especially because if you have tried reading Irish mythology or the Mabinogion, especially the translations, it can get kind of confusing, especially if you're using an older translation where the language in itself is kind of old-fashioned. It makes it even harder. And so this one, especially for Morgan Dharma, looks good because I've really enjoyed their works before, so I think I'm going to check this one out. And this is volume 1, which means there's probably bound to be multiple more coming out soon. Another on the 4th of November in the US and December in the UK, we have Plant Magic, the magic connections of plants with the universe. Bring peace and harmony to your world with this lovely illustrated overview of the magical cosmic properties of plants. Discover your sacred powers through the cosmic magic of plants with Plant Magic, a stunning collection and exploration of plants and their otherworldly powers. With beautiful illustrations and insightful connections, this book teaches you about the earthbound history of the individual plants and the cosmic magic they contain. Divided by cosmic archetype, this magical reference unlocks the powers of the plants growing right here on Earth. You'll learn about Ginkgo biloba, a mercurial plant. It evokes an ancient time and can help develop intuitive abilities, drawing on the guardian tree to help with memory, confidence, and presence. Damiana, a Venusian plant. Its small yellow flowers awaken our vital instincts and connect our senses so that we can absorb the magic around us, opening us up to the healing that comes from pleasure. Cypress, a Satorian plant. This strong tree has protective powers and helps us root ourselves in the world, grounding us while also lifting us up during difficult times. Each of the profiles cover the history and connections that can be made by the plant's cosmic magic, and they're accompanied by gorgeous illustrations, letting this be an informative meditation on the powers they all bestow upon us. So this one does look really good. I have so many books though on plant magic that for now, I think I'm going to take a pause on this, but if you don't have any books already on the subject, this one could be worth checking out. On the 8th of November in the UK, already released in the US, we have Solomonic Pentacles, Wisdom and Magic for the Modern Age. Now, if you were here last month, you will already have heard me talking about this, but it looks so good. Bring an ancient tradition into your modern practice with this book sharing a fresh, innovative perspective in Solomonic magic. The rituals of Solomonic magic are often confusing, but this book thoroughly explains them in a practical way. Unique to this book is the inclusion of 20 new pentacles designed around the trans-Satorian planets. You'll even learn how to make your own pentacles based on traditional principles. Emrys Abner shares a new take on the Key of Solomon that celebrates the old ways, whilst also encouraging experimentation. He also presents detailed explanations of the pentacles in that famous text, including their activation psalms and path workings. You'll learn how to forge a deeper relationship with the pentacles, including the 20 new ones, and get more of what you want out of life. A culmination of Emrys's research, testing, and personal revelation, this book helps you embrace high magic in the modern world. On the 8th of November in the US and December in the UK, we have Llewellyn's Little Book of Sun Spells. Featuring more than 50 spells, this convenient, portable guide to solar magic offers innovative ways to connect with the sun's energies for greater success and happiness. Impassion your practice with the sun's fiery radiance and manifest your desires for more abundance, courage, and cheer. With step-by-step instructions for witches of any skill level, this 2-colour book offers a wealth of solar rituals, spells, and crafts to illuminate your path. Discover seasonal activities for each month and Sabbath, create a sunset potion for closure, victory powder for good luck, a suncatcher for wishes. Melanie Marquis also teaches you how to enhance your spells with solar timing and a bounty of magical correspondences. Mirroring Llewellyn's Little Book of Moon Spells, this attractive hardcover with gold foil accents offers powerful solar magic for every occasion. Now, I say this every time, and it's going to get annoying at some point. You do not need a ginormous stack of spell books. However, if solar magic is something in particular that you want to look into and you don't have any other references or resource material, because I'll be honest, solar magic is kind of pushed to the wayside compared to lunar magic, then it could be something to look into. Though, one thing I will say is do bear in mind, Llewellyn is particularly heavy on their Wicca adjacent resources. Now, I have not really read that many Llewellyn books in probably about 8 or 10 years. So this might have changed. Let me know if it has, or I suppose hasn't. But when I was very heavily reading Llewellyn books, they did have a very strong Wiccan undercurrent. There isn't really much wrong with that as long as you're aware that it's there. So just bear that in mind. On November 8th in the US and December in the UK, we have one for all of my Chaos magicians. This is the Chaos Apple, Magic and Discordianism for the Postmodern Witch. Discover the reality-warping wizardry of chaos magic. Join Thumper Forge, a chaos witch extraordinaire and Gardnerian Wiccan, on the wildest magical ride this side of the multiverse. He serves as your witty tour guide through the topsy-turvy realms of chaos witchcraft and Discordianism, where you can dance with Eris, the cosmic trickster herself, learn to bend belief like a spoon, craft sigils that make the universe giggle, and summon parking spots with the grace of a sorcerer. With a wink and a cackle, Forge teaches you to embrace the absurd, harness the power of paradigm parkour, and discover why sometimes the most powerful magic comes with a side of laughter. I actually think that one looks really interesting. I'm tempted to get that because many books in the magical sphere, and no shade to them because I love these too, they are very, very serious. They're very academic, they're very intense, and so I feel like a book like this could very much be a palate cleanser. If you're currently reading quite heavy and dense books, this one could just be a light-hearted, highly educational book on a topic that you might know nothing about, and those are some of my favourite books. On the 8th of November in the US and December in the UK, we have Sacred Wild, an invitation to connect with spirits of the land. Enter the realm of land spirits, your best allies for protection and growth, and build personal relationships with stones, plants, animals, elementals, and much more. If you've ever experienced a special sense of place or a draw to the outdoors, you've been in the presence of land spirits. They are everywhere on Earth and can be valuable members of your personal spirit team if only you reach out. Equal parts guide and grimoire, this book is perfect for anyone interested in earth-based faith, magic, travel, and environmentalism. Through more than 60 exercises, rituals, spells, and meditations, you can learn how to recognize and create sustainable magical practices for the mutual benefit of ourselves and our planet. Your greatest spiritual allies are right under your feet. Now, this one looks really, really interesting. I do find, and I'm going to just kind of point this out because it's something that you'll notice time and time again within the magical community, different terms are perceived differently by different practices, practitioners, and traditions. So for me, land spirits are land wights, genus loci. Spirits of the land are tree spirits, nature spirits, elementals, and the like. And that slight change in terminology can completely change how people perceive a book. The actual cover of the book says, "An invitation to connect with spirits of the land," which is exactly what this book is all about. I'm not sure though if necessarily it's going to go into genus loci, land wights, and the like, but it would be really interesting if it did. I think I'm going to check this one out anyway though, because it does look really interesting. On the 11th of November in the USA and the UK, it's quite unusual to find books that come out at the same time, we have Witch, Healer, Priestess, Outcast, Divine Feminine Archetypes for Modern Life. This cover, by the way, is so beautiful. You know how I always say I remember covers and pictures more than I remember names? This is one that totally stands out to me as being so unbelievably beautiful. The bright orange, it's so good. I just want to eat it. I know it's a book cover, but I just want to eat it. A journey through the divine feminine archetypes of goddesses and mythic figures. In Witch, Healer, Priestess, Outcast, explore original retellings of mythic figures and goddesses from around the world, discovering how to embrace both the dark and light aspects of life. Learn how embodying the power of witches, healers, priestesses, and outcasts can help you navigate your deepest emotions, reclaim your place in a fast-paced world, and bring new meaning to your experiences. Drawing inspiration from the ancient tradition of oral storytelling, uncover forgotten figures whose tales may have been lost to time, yet have much to teach us about what it means to live as a woman fully empowered. Witch, Healer, Priestess, Outcast shines a new light on those lost figures while offering fresh perspectives on those we know well. Each story is a chance to be inspired, and through guided meditations you'll learn how to integrate that inspiration into your life. Embrace the divine energy of healing, connect with an ancient lineage that honours the feminine power to nurture and heal, discover the magic of feminine power, explore the stories of Hecate and Morgan Le Fay, and gain fresh insight into the enduring power of women and how it has often been misunderstood. Practical exercises for daily growth. Integrate the power of the goddess into your life with guided meditations that deepen your connection to each story's message and help you embody their transformative energy. Step into your own divine power, awaken the wisdom of the goddesses, and begin your transformative journey today. Now, up next is a book that I am certain I've spoken of at least a couple of times. This is now meant to be coming out on the 11th of November in the US and the UK. And I'm not sure if this is a different version. I'm coming into this basically saying, I'm not sure if this is a delay on the previous publication date, or if initially it was published as a hardback and now it is coming back as a paperback. I'm not sure if anybody does know. If you've got this yourself, let me know. But this is Sabbatic Witchcraft, The Way of Midnight's Eden. Now, this is by Daniel A. Shulke. Now, I have a few by Daniel A. Shulke in my collection, and I really enjoy them, but they tend to take a long time to publish. Now, I believe this one is being published by Three Hands Press, which is fairly well known for very slow publications, but when they do come out, the books are really good and they're really, really beautiful. So just bear that in mind. This might be delayed again, depending on the circumstances. The figure of the witch in medieval Europe was strongly defined by her relation to the Sabbath, the phantasmagoric nocturnal rite where the living trafficked with the dead. Sometimes conflated with the Christian heresy of the Black Mass, or derided by occult writers as a degenerate form of ancient high magic, the Sabbath is in fact a fully realised wellspring of ecstasy and ritual power with its roots in prehistory. This sequel to Shulke's Beneficium, which I have in my collection and it's really good, examines the elements of the Sabbath, from the nocturnal flight of the witches to the frenzied round dance, to its more notorious features such as the witches' supper and intercourse with the devil. The essential syncretic nature of Sabbatic ritual and magic is examined, as well as its relation to Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, as well as the polytheistic and animist religions which preceded them, as well as its capacity as a vehicle for individual power and ecstatic experience. This book examines the persistent embodiments of the Sabbath through time, up to and including modern occult practices. So on the 11th of November in the US and the 6th of November in the UK, so technically I feel like I should have had it earlier on in this list, we have Ancestral Magic, a modern witch's guide to folk traditions and reconnection. Now this one is actually written by our very own chaotic witch aunt, and so it looks really, really interesting. From the author of Spells for Change comes a gentle and informative guide to reconnecting mindfully with ancestral practices, healing generational trauma along the way. Frankie Castanier, aka Chaotic Witch Aunt, draws their own complex journey of ancestral reclamation to guide readers as they consider questions of cultural and spiritual identity, lineage, and belonging. Emphasizing that any process of reconnection must navigate traumas such as colonization and assimilation, the author offers emotional guidance as well as practical advice on topics such as discovering your individual ancestral practices, connecting with ancestral plant and animal allies, navigating oral traditions, identifying reliable sources of research, and establishing mentors. Now, one thing I found along the way in my research is that depending on where you are, whether you're in America or whether you're in the UK, the cover of this book changes colours quite dramatically. So the American version, it shows as being pink, and the UK version shows as being blue. I'm not sure which is the version that you would actually get. I'm going to have to do a bit more research on this, and if I can, I'll sort of put it on the screen. But yeah, that was just something I noticed along the way, is that it seems as though it's in two different colours, but it seems kind of as though it's location based depending on the colour. So anyway, it looks really interesting. I just thought that was something I should point out because it's something that I noticed whilst I was researching. On the 11th of November in both the US and UK, this one looks so good too, is Household Lore, Folklore Traditions and Remedies for Every Room in Your Home. Did you know that planting holly may deter lightning strikes, evil spirits might be spooked by a hot cross bun, and gifting soap can end a friendship? Open this book to tour around the traditions that lurk under the stairs, inside the cracks, and behind every cobweb in our homes. In every culture, folklore is passed down the generations, helping us protect our sacred spaces and offering advice should we knock a fork off the table or yearn to dabble in some doorway divination. With each chapter dedicated to a different room, learn how to navigate your home with harmony. Discover how your roof can predict the future and what to do should a witch land on it. Tiptoe into the bedroom and uncover what the ancients had to say about aphrodisiacs and how to escape supernatural interference whilst asleep. Sit down in the dining room and lift the lid on unsavoury indigestion remedies and old wife-approved hangover cures. From the rafters to the cellar steps, from the garden path to the kitchen cupboard, your home is chock full of folklore waiting to be revealed. That one looks really, really good. Another that's coming out on the same day, on the 13th of November, UK and USA, we have Love Magic, a beginner's guide to harnessing magic for love and romance. For centuries, people have turned to magic, spells, and witchcraft to invite happiness and meaningful experiences into their lives. But did you know that this ancient craft can also do wonders for your love life? By knowing how and when to harness the power of magic, you can ensure that all your future relationships are deep, beautiful, and made to last. Including a variety of spells, potions, and rituals, this little book is the perfect introduction to using magic to enrich your relationships, both amorous and platonic. Whether you're looking to harness your most romantic self, manifest what you most desire, or create long-lasting relationships, this book has the spell for you. Within these pages, you will find spells designed to help you find love, promote self-love, enhance existing relationships, and strengthen bonds of friendship, and so much more. So conjure your inner power and enrich your life with a little bit of love magic. Who knows, the secret to eternal happiness may be just a spell away. Why does that last line sound like the advertisement for, this is such a tangent, you know, in Shrek? I don't know which one it is. Is it the original Shrek? No, I think it's Shrek 2. I think it's Shrek 2, where you have the fairy godmother and she has those adverts where she's talking about the potions that she sells. Why does that last line sound like it comes straight out of that advert? That's not me being negative, by the way. It just immediately, as soon as I said that, the secret to eternal happiness may be just a spell away. Why does that sound so like that? I need to look this up. Hang on, I'll be right back. I need to check this. Okay, this is going to do my head in. If anybody knows what I'm talking about, let me know, because I can't find it anywhere. I'm going to have to watch Shrek 2 again oh no, the travesty, to see if I can find it. Right. On the 18th of November in the US and January in the UK, we have Aradia, a modern guide to Chard Godfrey Leland's Gospel of the Witches. Now, as it sounds, this is an extended edition, a modern guide to a pre-existing piece of media. So if you've already read Aradia, the Gospel of Witches, which I have, I'm going to be honest, somewhere up there in the A section. If you already have it, you're probably not going to need this again. But if you don't already have that, and it's something that you've wanted to look into, this could be worthwhile. A fresh approach to the classic text. Craig Spencer presents vital cultural context and updated translations to Charles Godfrey Leland's classic book in Aradia, a modern guide to Charles Godfrey Leland's Gospel of the Witches, expanded edition. Wow, that's a mouthful. Passed to Charles Godfrey Leland through supposedly hereditary witches from Italy in the late 1890s. Aradia was one of the building blocks for British witchcraft as we know it today. Through Spencer's in-depth commentary and analysis of original work, contemporary value and rich historical narratives are revealed to anyone with a penchant for British witchcraft's most formative texts. Spencer presents Leland's original English manuscript with new interpretations, translations, and the restoration of 40 lines of text that were left out of the original publication. This exploration of one of the world's most fascinating and enduring pieces of magical literature is sure to inspire and enrich your own journey along the spiritually profound path of witchcraft. So yeah, not one for anybody who already has the book, who doesn't need more information, but it's certainly an option. On the 18th of November in the US and January in the UK, we have Past Life Prompts, a journal of memory work. A collection of over 250 open-ended prompts to inspire your past life journey. Past Life Prompts by M. Bellinger is your personal journey for self-directed memory work. Explore deep sensory and emotional triggers on your own schedule, taking time to reflect on and record everything that comes to mind. Bookending the prompts are instructions for how to approach memory work, why it's important, and how to avoid common pitfalls such as cryptomnesia. I've never seen that word in my life and I have no idea how to pronounce it. Cryptomnesia and wish fulfillment. Let's hope that's even slightly right. We're slowly getting towards the end now, don't worry, we're getting there. On the 18th of November in the US and January in the UK, we have Introduction to Witchcraft, 13 Lessons in the Practice of Magic. Sarah Mastros has turned thousands of novices into practitioners of the craft. For the first time, Introduction to Witchcraft, 13 Lessons in the Practice of Magic presents her decades of experience and material in an accessible form. Step into her classroom with a notebook and feather-tipped pen ready. It's time to advance your practice. Inside Introduction to Witchcraft, you'll find practical exercises, simple but never condescending explanations of major ideas, and examples from Mastros's experience in the field. She covers a range of topics from defining magic to curse breaking and protection, and divides the material into clear and distinct sections akin to lessons from her classes. Introduction to Witchcraft is a foundational title for all beginning witches and long-term practitioners looking to review the basics. And that is why I am tempted to get this, to read it through and see if I can add it into an updated beginner witchcraft books, because this one looks interesting. And I would love to see what it's like and pick it apart and dive into and see if it's something that I could possibly start recommending to other people as well. But I don't know yet, so we will have to wait and see. On the 18th of November in the US and already released in the UK, and I totally missed it. This is how many books come out. They just slip through the cracks sometimes. We have one for all of my historical witchcraft curious. So people who maybe just want to dive into a little bit of witchcraft history, this is Magic in Roman Britain. The archaeological evidence for the wide-ranging uses of magic in Roman Britain is explored here. Amulets harnessed the powers of supernatural creatures, arcane words, and strange and uncanny materials to provide powerful protection to their users. Roman Britain provides evidence for amulets that protected pregnant mothers, soldiers on the frontier, sufferers of stomach ailments, and teething infants, curses by victims of theft aimed to bring physical ruin on criminals, and love charms aimed to help the unlucky in love. Lavishly illustrated throughout, this accessible book offers a fascinating insight into the secret magical history of Roman Britain, which is a topic I found fascinating after learning about curse tablets, which are still being found to this day. We see a large range of sacrificial acts being taken place on a daily basis for people wishing to garner positive change from the gods. And so seeing a book like this being really accessible to people, I appreciate, and I'm tempted to check it out because this is a topic I really want to learn more about. Right, on the 18th of November in the US and also already released in the UK, I don't know how I missed these. This is Word Witchery, Walking the Path of the Poetry Priestess. Ancient priestesses of antiquity wrote and performed poetic incantations to the gods. Discover the forgotten magic of women's voices, of their poetry, and their word witchery. Poetry priestesses have been practicing the art of poetry as spells for thousands of years. I'm going to be really honest, there's a lot of names here that I am not going to be able to pronounce. I'll give them a go though. From Enheduna, Enheduna of Suma, invoking Inanna. I've definitely just said every single one of those words wrong. To Sappho of Lesbos' connection to Aphrodite, and Princess Gwenllian, daughter of the king of Gwynedd, said by some to be the author of the Mabinogi. Those women and many more use their voices through poetry to connect to the divine feminine within and around them. Word witchery helps readers connect to the women and deities associated with poetry and the magical word, and includes activities and journaling practices. You know when you've read a whole bunch of words in a book, but you've never actually heard anybody say them out loud? Yeah, that is the realization that I just had in real time. It's like when you're reading a fantasy novel and you don't know how any of the names are pronounced, so you just sort of give them like a vague college try, and then you hear somebody else say the name and you're like, oh, I was way off. That's how I feel reading some of the books in this video today. That's how I feel. So I'm really sorry. And then on the 20th of November in the UK, I'll have to double check the date for America because I don't have it written down, but I'll put it on the screen if I can find it. We have Mind Over Magic, the psychology of ritual magic. A scientific explanation of magical practice. Draws on peer-reviewed research in psychology and cognitive neuroscience, such as real-time brain imaging, to examine the effects of mystical states and magical practice. Shows how being in the zone, as described by athletes and performers, is consistent with the ritualist's state of mind when working magic. Suggests rituals and routines to strengthen one's practice of magic, witchcraft, meditation, and yoga with empirically proven tools. By looking through the lens of psychology, cognitive neuroscience, and real-time brain imaging, Mind Over Magic shows how and why ritual magic practice can produce profound experiences with tangible benefits. The author draws on a wealth of peer-reviewed research to shed light on magic. He uses psychological studies, including the infamous Stanford prison experiment, in which subjects role-played as prisoners and guards, to reveal the power of magical vestments and personas and the effect they have on ritual practitioners. He also reveals what neurological processes are involved when one encounters and works with spirits. Readers can then apply scientific method to evaluate their own spiritual praxis and determine what works best for them. For solitary practitioners and group participants alike, the author shares what happens, both on a psychological and neurological level, when they enter sacred spaces and use ritual implements, as well as enter deep meditative states. He also details the importance of initiation as a rite of passage and transformative methods of instruction. By approaching the art of practicing magic as a science, readers are encouraged to hone a more effective and empirically grounded practice. So I have thoughts, and not everybody is likely to agree with these thoughts, but books like this make me nervous. And it's because so many times we see magic and science combining in a research sense that goes on to hurt the magical community. Now, I want to emphasize here that doesn't mean that that is what this book is going to be about. But I do get nervous until I've read a book on the subject as to whether it's going to be like that or not. Now, I have a science background. I have a background in natural biology, natural science, and I really enjoy combining science and magic together. Many people do. You will find doctors and dentists, pharmacists and chemists working magic in their day-to-day life, and they do so successfully time and time again. But the books and the media that does this badly do sort of end up kicking the magical community in the teeth. And I really hope that this isn't the case, because often one of two things will happen. Either they will come to the magical community and magical arts with the attempt of finding validity. They will research these topics, they will find validity to them, and they will say, okay, well, these bits of magical practice are valid because we have scientific evidence for them, and therefore they are taken out of magic, they are put into the category of science, and everything that is left in the sea of magic is disregarded because we have no evidence for these things, but we have scientific backing for these things. So these things become science and this becomes nonsense, right? All of this stuff gets pushed to the sidelines. Or, and this is the really worst occasion, you will find that the material will go out of its way to discredit the magical community and essentially will reduce all magical practitioners down to fantasists, role players, and deluded people who want nothing more than to live in a magical world that doesn't exist, and therefore further undermining the magical community. Because even if people come at it with the best of intentions, sometimes it can almost be like a backhanded slap to the magical community. And I really, really hope that this isn't one of those books. I really want this to be one of those books that comes at it from... We've seen a couple coming out in the last few years, and some of them are really, really highly regarded. They did a really good job at it. It can be done really, really well, where they take a look at the magical arts and they say, okay, well, actually, we've never really looked at this before, but we can make connections to this, and we can draw these things together, and then these are based off this, and we can see neurologically why these things have been carried out for hundreds of years in some cases, why trance, why meditation, why ritual magic is used to alter states of consciousness. We can see it. We can actually see what happens in the brain. If they come at it from that perspective, which I really, really, really hope they will, from a stance of, hey, all these people who've been doing this for a very, very, very long time throughout history, they didn't realize what they were doing maybe had an impact in the way that it does, but now with modern technology we can see that it does, and it's fascinating. And that combination of magic and science is incredible when you're reading it, and I really, really, really want it to be that. And then on a slightly lighter note, we have a book that I'm pretty certain I've spoken of at least once before. On the 25th of November in the US and January in the UK, we have A Witch's Year, Journey Through the Changing Seasons in a Constant Process of Unfolding and Becoming. A Witch's Year is a compendium of magic, lore, rituals, observances, spells, crafts, meditations, visualizations, and all manner of practices that will bring you into a deeper relationship with the beings who share this world with us, with the spirit world and with the gods. Written by one of Britain's most well-respected and influential witches, and superbly illustrated by Nuka Shepherd, with every passing month you will discover how the great tide works through your magical life, how the great time cycles animate life, about the goddesses and gods and the world of spirits, and how to live here in this world now. And then lastly is a book I am so sad I wasn't able to get. So this is already released in the UK apparently, but it is totally unavailable. I've not been able to find it anywhere, and I really wanted to get this one. But it's coming out on the 25th of November in the USA, so if you can get hold of it, I think you will be quite lucky because it's already gone here. I don't know what's happened. If anybody knows, let me know. But this is Children of Cain, a study of modern traditional witches. I want this book so bad. I need to find this. The mid-20th century saw a resurgence in the popular occultism in Europe and Northern America, including an interest in witchcraft. Chief among these was Wicca, a recension of ceremonial magic and nature worship advanced by Gerald Gardner and Alex Sanders, now widely regarded as a religion. However, lesser-known traditions of the witch current thrived in the shadows, having older historical roots and linked to a body of practices: witch bottles, knotted cord spells, curses, exorcisms, sexual magic and charms, ranging from the conjuration of angels to protection for livestock and hearth. These are formed a body of practices loosely called traditional witchcraft, whose origin lies in part with the sorcery of the Cunningfolk in Britain, Europe, and colonial America. Eschewing the popular occult limelight, its perpetuation as a mystery cult continues as a largely closed group of initiates. Now revised and expanded, the second edition of Children of Cain is the definitive history of traditional witchcraft and its key operatives in Britain and the United States, and is based on over 40 years of research and private collaboration with practitioners of this mysterious form of folk magic. Now, traditional witchcraft and folk magic in its adapted form is the way that I personally practice my witchcraft. And so this one is by Michael Howard as well. So I want to get it. It's going to be a really good book. I just know it is. And I find it really fascinating because if you've looked into the Witchcraft Museum in Boscastle, you may well know a little bit more of the story of what went on between Gerald Gardner and Cecil Williamson. Now, if you want a whole video on this, I'm happy to do that. The story is really, really interesting. They were working together, and it got to a point where they were just butting heads so often because Gerald Gardner was so focused on making a formalised tradition of Wicca, whereas Cecil Williamson was prioritising the folk magic of the everyday people. It wasn't about formalised traditions. It was about the unique individual folk practices, and this ultimately became what we see today as the Museum of Witchcraft in Boscastle. Though it was in the Cotswolds as well, some people may remember it being there, but it has moved since. And it is an absolutely fascinating place, focusing on the folk magic of individual people, not large covens, small folk practices, charms in seashells, seahorses that were used for magical protection, witches' bottles and mandrakes, and they have the most amazing collection of things. And so I really, really want to dive more into traditional witchcraft because then you have the story of Robert Cochrane and the clan of Tubal Cain, and it's so interesting. So if you are just as interested in traditional witchcraft as I am, and you are in America, I would actually recommend getting this one. I've not even read it, and I think you will at least get some interesting information out of it and some references for other materials that you might then want to deep dive into. And with that being said, those are all of the books this month. My camera died partway through. I'm pretty certain I'm not entirely in focus. I think I'm in focus here if I sit forwards like this. But if I sit backwards, I think I'm ever so slightly out of focus, but this does not have an automatic focus. It's a manual focus, and I don't have anybody to sit here and register as like the focal point. So it's going to be a bit of trial and error. I would love to know what your favourite books are this month, and if you read any of these books or have already read them, please leave some reviews in the comment section for people who are finding this later and just want to see whether a book is really going to be for them. Because it's all well and good seeing the information that the publisher or the author offers, but then actually reading the book is a very different thing. So the ones that I'm most excited about, Children of Cain. We all could have guessed that one. I really need to find a copy in the UK. What else do I think looks really interesting? I think that Magick in Roman Britain looks good, as well as Introduction to Witchcraft. I don't think it's going to be for everybody. I think it's very much beginners, but I do think that one looks good. What else? Household Law by Lisa Frank, I think looks really interesting. The cover is also beautiful. It's the kind of thing where you could give it as a gift to anybody. Like, they don't have to be a magical practitioner themselves. They could just be curious about folklore, and I think they'd really like it. What else? You've got Ancestral Magic. Sabbatic Witchcraft. Still waiting for that one to come out. That will be really, really good. The Chaos Apple. There's actually so many this month that look really, really good. My no buy might be fighting for its life by the end of this. So with that being said, I hope you are staying safe. If you would like to see the astrology for November, feel free to go over to my Patreon. That's where all of those videos end up, and potentially the podcast in the future. We will have to see. So the links to all of that will be down in the description box. And yeah, I hope that you've had an amazing Samhain. I hope that you have a marvelous magical day, an amazing month. If you like this video, please give it a like. It means a lot. Put any of your comments, questions, thoughts on any of these books down in the comment section. And I will see you in the next video for some more witchy content. I have a few really interesting videos planned, so fingers crossed I can now get them filmed on this and they will look so good. Okay. I'm going to get to editing because this is going to take me a while. Okay, bye!